because these past number of days have been very army intensive, which makes sense because I was called up to reserves and I've been in the army for over 2 months, but we're doing pretty intensive training right now, like more intensive than I thought that they were prepared to do for husbands and fathers who have let themselves get a little bit out of shape. Not horribly out of shape, but I'm 45 years old. I'm 45. In America, it's like these 18-year-old guys, 20, 21, 22. Anyways, but it's good. It's good and it's healthy, but it's very I spent the entire day today, running, crawling, shooting, carrying. It was a lot. And I've been saying to myself the whole day, I'm like, I am going to get in really good shape. I need to. I need to. It's not like for aesthetic reasons, and it's because I'm defending my family and I'm defending Jews in Judea. I need to. Anyways, and keep in mind that my fellow soldiers, for the most part, they're all husbands and fathers also. These are all guys my age, crawling through the sand, over the rocks, carrying things, shooting, rolling the whole day. And I'll tell you that when we're training, there's a lot of different emotions that just flow through me. At least I'll speak for myself. One is a little bit of resentment towards Jeremy, who just stepped out of the picture because who has to ride a horse without a helmet? Who? Who rides a horse without a helmet? I'm Jeremy, Mr. Cavalier Jeremy without a helmet. And now he can't serve in the army. And I'm stuck defending my nation on my own. And he was always my commander in the army. He always gave me a lot of strength and leadership. And now I don't have him there with me. It's okay, Jeremy. I forgive you. I love you. But but there's part of me that wishes it's like begrudging. Like I'm angry that I have to be doing this. That I wish that I don't need I didn't I wish that I didn't need to be doing this. This isn't saying that there's not a part of me that's grateful, that doesn't see this Sahal, Savah, Haganah Israel, the Israel Defense Forces. Yes, I don't like the hey. I don't think it should say Israel Defense Forces. I think it should say Israel Forces. But this Green Army is, to me, like I said, it's always been had a certain level of sanctity to it. It's the first Jewish army since the times of King David, right? We had yellow Jewish stars on our sleeves in Berlin and in Poland and in Hungary, and now I have a yellow Jewish army on my uniform. I'm grateful for it. I don't want to seem ungrateful, okay? But at the same time, I wish I didn't need to be doing this. That I wish I could be home with my wife and children. I'm not the kind of guy that goes out with my friends to the bar ever, ever, ever. I don't go out with my friends ever. My friends are my family. Not only because I really can't leave them on the mountain alone, just for security reasons, but also just every moment to me. I don't take any day for granted. Not one day. Every day that goes by, I'm overwhelmed with gratitude and I'm not going to waste it not investing and being with my wife and my children. And so, I want to be able to teach them and to watch them grow, and of course we know that like we're patrolling and we're fighting and we're training here for our survival in order to be able to raise our children and to watch them grow as we're surrounded by throngs of jihadists who all they want in their lives is to murder us from birth to death. All they want to do, it's so overwhelming, their pathological hatred for us, that you have to see the divine signature there. It's so irrational to have entire nations of people that care nothing about anything else. As Rav Shlomo Carlebach, he said it. He was in Skokie, Illinois, where there was a march of neo-Nazis, and he said, if you know the stories of Rav Shlomo Carlebach, he was like, there's something so holy about these people. Like, there's something so holy about these neo-Nazis. Like, the whole day, every day, all they're doing is thinking about the Jewish people. There's something holy about that. I wish it was good things. I wish it was good things, And so, like, I wish that these jihadists also thought good things about us all day from morning to night, and we could learn together and love God together and serve Him together. I wish that. But anyway, that's not the situation. And so part of me just like there's that part of me that is not fully integrated, that's begrudging, that just sort of begrudges that we need to be still fighting to this degree, to this level, at this age, defending our children and our families from a very real, I mean, the scenarios that we have to train for. We're training for every scenario you could possibly imagine. And some of them, when you realize what you're training for, it's hard, like Jeremy said, not to be a little bit terrified at the realization of the numbers that we're facing, how overwhelmingly outnumbered we are. And the reality of the situation, when I think about it, if my little Dvash, if she hurts her toe, I'm like, incapacitated, and so it's really difficult. And then this Shabbat, we spent the entire Torah portion learning about the journey of the Israelites building the tabernacle, which was the foreshadowing, right, of the temple itself. And what is so shocking is that, when you think about it, the Israelites really didn't know what they were building, right? They knew that it was the tabernacle. They knew that they had to donate certain things, and they donated so much that it had to be like, everybody stop. You're giving too much. It's over. Whoever gave has given, and nobody else can give, which, by the way, is a lesson. Sometimes we're like, oh, I really want to give charity, but now's not a great time. I'll give later. You don't know. You don't know that there's going to be a later. You don't know, right? Like, now is the time to do it. If you have tithes to give, you haven't given, and you know of that person in your community that needs, someone in Israel that needs, someone, you have that place in your heart that you know needs it, and you have it to give, and you owe it, right? You owe the money, right? Because when you tithe, the word is tzedakah, from tzedek, which is justice. That first 10% of your money that you give, if you don't give it, it's really stealing from God. Beyond 10%, okay, maybe that's above and beyond in righteousness, right? But up to that 10%. And so, anyways, I'm ADDing a little bit. But the point is, they didn't know what they were building. And they didn't know what it would be like to have the Shekhinah, to have God's presence dwelling within them, and dwelling amongst them. They didn't know what it would be like, and they didn't know what they were missing beforehand. I mean, you can't really parallel that to us nowadays, because they did have certain levels of daily perfunctory miraculousness, from pancakes falling out of the sky to being led by pillars of fire at night, and clouds during the day. There was miracles that happened, but they didn't know what they were missing. And I feel like there is a real analogy, as Jeremy started this fellowship so beautifully, to what's happening today, to the story that I was telling. And I've been looking for this story that I'm about to share with you right now for such a long time, and I haven't been able to find it. And I sort of put it together again. I'm still sort of crafting it myself, because it's more of like a metaphor. It's you'll see where I'm going with this, but I want to share this story with you because I think it conveys sort of where we're at right now in history. So the story is like this: there was a small Jewish village in Eastern Europe. There lived a man named Eliyahu, and he was a gifted pianist. He was his piano. He played so beautifully. People come from around. His music was his soul's connection to God. It was a bridge between the mundane and the divine. And the synagogue was often filled with echoes of his melodies. He blended traditional tunes and nigunim with classic compositions. But as you know, as happened throughout all of Jewish history, the tides of history turned cruel, as they often did for the Jewish people, and a pogrom swept through the village, and Eliyahu, along with his family, was expelled and forced into exile far from his home, lost everything. They fled with little more with the clothes on their backs. And the piano, was, you can imagine, a heavy and cherished possession, was left behind. And, it was silenced, by the chaos of the displacement. And in the foreign land where they settled, a place of, unfamiliar language, and there was cold indifference, and Eliyahu longed for the music that had defined his life, that expressed his soul. But pianos there were luxury that he could not afford. They barely even had them there. And the exile stripped him of his tools to express his spirit. And then one day, in a fit of desperation and creativity, Eliyahu took a piece of weathered wood, and he found that he found near his home in the forest, and with a steady hand and a heart with a clear vision and memory of where he came from, he painted black and white keys onto it, mimicking the layout of his lost piano. And he sat before this makeshift piece of wood, and he pressed his fingers against the silent wood, right, imagining the notes that once flowed so freely. And it was just a private ritual that he did, a way to hold on to his identity and his faith, and really the way he expressed his Judaism, his service and his worship of God. And years passed, and his children grew up watching their father play his wooden piano. Right? They saw the way his face lit up and the way his fingers danced, as if like coaxing sound from the air itself. And to them, this was normal. It was beautiful. It was his expression. And they pressed their own little small hands against the painted keys, believing that this is how one played music, by touching wood and sort of willing the notes into existence. They didn't know the richness of a real piano's sound, right? That had once filled their father's world. For them, right, the Judaism of the exile was all they knew, right? A Judaism of painted keys, of silent songs, and just making do with the very little that they had. And then when the family eventually returned to Israel after the hardships of the exile had lifted, they encountered a real piano for the first time, and they stared at it and they were confused. And their father sat down and played, filling the room with melodies. And then one of them, Abba, one of them asked, "Why does this piano make noise? Ours was so quiet, but ours was so beautiful. This isn't how a piano is supposed to sound. This isn't how it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be the wood." Right? And Eliyahu smiled and tears were in his eyes. And he said, in exile, we learned to play with our hearts because we had no strings. Here in Israel, we can hear the music again. Right? And I feel like that's what's happening. And it's hard to express, like, what? This is the music? Me, I'm like 45 and wife and children, and there's grandparents that are there. And we're taking our weapons and crawling through the dirt, and bloody arms and elbows, and shooting and defending and patrolling and fighting in wars. And this is the way the music, yeah, but it's as if our ears are starting to be attuned to who we are and what we're really about and what we're expressing. And it's hard sometimes when you're in the midst of it all to be able to zoom out and see the whole picture, see what it's really about. But if we zoom out on what's happening in the return of the nation of Israel to the land of Israel, we can see that this is leading us to a redemptive temple consciousness. Right now, I don't even feel like I can tell you why. I'm too in it right now to be able to really connect the dots. Sometimes I see it and I feel it, and sometimes I don't. Right now, I don't, but I know it. I know it's true, even though I don't know why. I just know it in my heart. And what we're doing here in this fellowship is a big part of it.